and welcome to another episode of Fan Theories. I'm your host, Emily Kelly.
And I'm Peter Cunin.
This is probably my most favoriteest of episodes that we've done in the 6 episodes that we've done on this show. And fun fact, this is actually why we started the show.
It is.
We'll get to the theory that started our interest in maybe talking about fan theories.
The anticipation. It's a good one.
Okay.
It involves...
It's a good one.
No, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even
Spoiler-
going to say it.
spoiler
No spoilers. No.
So, if you listen to any of the other There podcasts, you've probably heard me talk about what this month's theme is. And of course, it is Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
It is actually, if you're listening to this on Monday, right when it comes out, July 31st, it is Harry Potter's birthday.
Happy
birthday. I believe it's also J.K. Rowling's birthday.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I
nice.
think she gave Harry her own birthday.
That makes sense.
So
you make yourself the hero in the story.
Yeah, exactly. So Harry would be 36 years old today, I think. 36, 37?
Damn.
Yeah,
he's
he's
old.
36. He was born in 1981.
Damn, what a grandpa.
I know.
Do you think he has grandkids by now?
No, he has 3 kids.
No
learned about
grandkids?
this. No, because the epilogue in the 7th book is like 19 years later or something. So he would be like 34, 35, I think. So we just saw his youngest go to Hogwarts last year. Like,
very cool.
Canonically. So obviously I know a lot about Harry Potter as you've listened to me talk for like a minute about it. So I want to start off by saying that Harry Potter, just for me personally, I know this isn't anything surprising if you've ever listened to me or follow me on Twitter or anything.
Do you know who this person is?
Have you met me? Harry Potter has meant just an undescribable amount in my life, like the meaningfulness in my life of I first discovered Harry Potter right when it came to the United States. Like I think it was released in like September of 1998 and I got it in December for Christmas. And it was just like a book. I was a voracious reader at this point. I was in 3rd grade. I'd already been reading chapter books on my own. And I just asked for a book for Christmas because I liked witches and magic and it sounded cool. It was just starting to be very popular in the UK. And I was like, I'll give it a try. And I remember cracking it open on my grandfather's couch on Christmas Day after we, done all our present stuff. And that was it. Like it just changed my whole life. And, it really got me through a lot of bad times in my life and I've written about this, about how Harry Potter saved my life because it really, really did. I have anxiety and have suffered from depression, and Harry Potter just was always there. You didn't matter what happened in school or at home, that you could always go to Hogwarts and Hogwarts could be your home, and Harry and Hermione and Ron and Neville and Luna and McGonagall, even McGonagall I wanted to be friends with, could be your friends. And I think that's really, that's the real magic of these books, is that it has affected people's lives so much, especially mine. So, babe, how did you get into Harry Potter?
I got into it a couple years after it was released, so I guess during the hype, and I think I did it mostly for school, just so to read something. I was into video games. It was 8th grade, so I was definitely into video games, StarCraft, Warcraft. But yeah, so I read the book starting from there, and I fell in love with it, just like everybody did. And then it meant even more when I met you, when you were so attached to it.
Mm-hmm. When I cry every time we talk about, I cry every movie, cry reading the books at home. Even though rereading the books as an adult is such a funny experience because you realize kind of like what an idiot Harry is.
Harry is so dumb.
He's so dumb. Like he's not good at magic at all, but whatever. It's somehow.
I think JK really wrote herself as Harry and Hermione sort of together.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you're dumb and sometimes you're brilliant, So I think together they obviously make a great team. And then Ron is there to goof off. And so together they make like a complete human being.
Yeah. That's so true.
Oh, they all fit under the invisibility cloak too.
They until they get too big and then their feet show because Ron's too tall.
Yes. And maybe other things are happening, which would maybe not be fun for all 3 people to be under the cloak.
Puberty. It was puberty.
Yeah, it was puberty.
So what Hogwarts house? What Hogwarts house are you in?
I am Ravenclaw.
And I am a Slytherin. Don't boo. I hear the boos on the other end here. Slytherins are not all that bad, okay? We're resourceful and
no boos. No boos.
No boos, okay? Come on. So, do you have a favorite character?
My favorite character is probably Luna.
That's a good favorite character.
Luna Lovegood, yeah.
Why? Why is she your favorite?
She's just so out there and spazzy.
And probably the smartest, besides Hermione.
But yeah, very smart. Yeah, but you don't see her brilliance. She's just sort of, eccentric like that.
Yeah. My favorite character is Neville. Because like Neville, I was a late bloomer, both physically and probably, talent-wise, that I didn't come into my own till a little bit later with the help of some really cool friends and people who believed in me. And I think Neville, for me at least, represents that, like, the bravest people are some of the most quiet, and that anyone can be a hero if you believe in something strong enough.
Or if you get the Sword of Gryffindor.
Or if you get the Sword of Gryffindor and
but because you're awesome.
Because you're awesome and you wear sweet, like, sweater vests all the time.
I love the sweater vest. And
I love
the
sweater vest.
You really grow into yourself.
Yeah. We actually have a good Neville theory in our subtopics. So I'm excited to talk about that one because I never really thought about that before, the one that we're going to talk about. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Super excited.
So let's first start off with our main topic. So this is probably the most popular fan theory in the Harry Potter fandom, and probably the one that honestly makes the most sense, and that is the Dumbledore is deaf. So in the context of this, in the Tale of the Three Brothers from the Beetle and the Bard, this book that now is published and you can own, but that Dumbledore gives Hermione.
Or you can just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, or you can just watch it, or in the movies.
I refreshed right before. Yeah.
In that context, in the story, to sum up, it's this story about three brothers, magical brothers, wizards. They don't say wizard, but they say magic users. They cheat Death, essentially, and Death tries to trick them into bringing about their own demise. And so the eldest brother asks for the most powerful wand ever in existence.
Idiot.
The middle brother asks for the ability to resurrect people.
Almost cool.
And then the third brother, the most humblest, the typical, younger brother, littlest brother, asks for the ability to go forth and, not be followed around by death.
So he gets an invisibility cloak.
Exactly. So, and this obviously sounds familiar to book readers and movie watchers alike, because these are the three Deathly Hallows, and that's why this story is so important in the lexicon of Harry Potter. So, but obviously the three brothers are important, the Deathly Hallows are important, but the other very important character in the story is Death himself.
Yeah.
And so fans have theorized that Dumbledore represents Death, just as Voldemort, Snape, and Harry represent the three brothers. So it's a super cool theory, because it's basically like a theory within a theory, almost. Yeah. Because the Tale of the Three Brothers is one of those, just like we have in our Muggle sort of mythology, of that it's based on true events or based around true events, is that the people believe in the magical world that the three brothers were the Percival brothers. And one of the Percival brothers is actually related to Harry as a distant relation. So it's one of those things where the legend, perhaps it really happened this way, or because obviously the Deathly Hallows are real. So why wouldn't the three brothers be real? And why wouldn't they have actually been confronted with death, or a, death incarnate sort of character?
It's too bad there isn't like some sort of magic historian.
I mean, there is.
Yeah, but it's not like a watcher. It's not like a.
I suppose.
Who's the one in the Maesters who record all of history?
Yeah.
Without us, we'd just be dogs, eating.
Waiting for our next meal.
That's what it is. Waiting for our next meal.
Never knowing what time passes. Yeah, that's from Game of Thrones reference.
Game of Thrones
reference. From our last fan theories.
Oh my goodness.
There's definitely a lot of magical history. Professor Binns is a class on it, but.
Yeah, but it's like, you know
I
what
see
I'm
what you mean. I see what you mean.
Unless you have like the threads of your memory.
Yeah.
For everybody to drop in the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
Magical Wi-Fi.
What was the password?
Lemon sherbet.
Lemon sherbet. Yeah.
We're not savages.
Okay.
So let's break this theory down a little bit further. Obviously, Harry, Snape, and Voldemort are not brothers.
No.
But they are
magic brothers.
They are magic brothers. They are attached along the line of fate. Their fates are all intertwined with one another. So Voldemort obviously represents the eldest brother in the story.
He wants power.
Yes, he wanted all the power. That's why he wanted the Elder Wand. Snape would represent the middle brother. Not so much in that he could bring people back from the dead, but that he longed for Lily all these years, but that much like in the story of the three brothers, when he brings back his long lost love, she's not the same, and it drives him, to.
Well, he doesn't bring Lily back.
No, but I mean, like the woman that he is hanging on to is not the woman that she was when she was living. Like when she was in his mind, like the Lily that he loves is not the Lily that she was when she died.
Right.
I think is what the illusion is there.
Gotcha.
And then of course Harry literally has an invisibility cloak, the invisibility cloak, one would assume, and that's why he is the youngest brother. So Dumbledore, Dumbledore has possessed all three Deathly Hallows at one point, which in the story originate from death. So they don't exactly originate from Dumbledore, but he has been in their possession. He has had them in his possession for a long time. In the case of the Elder Wand and the Invisibility Cloak.
Right. How did he have the ring?
So the Resurrection Stone. Is the ring, is the stone from the Gaunt family, Voldemort's mother's family. I think that's how you say their last name.
Yeah, I believe so.
So it was in his like ancestral ring, maybe passed down from Salazar Slytherin, that kind of line, because they have the locket as well. And we brought up a good question before we started to record was, so he used the ring, Voldemort used one of the ring as a Horcrux. Did he know it was a resurrection? So I don't think he would have used it as a Horcrux if he had known it was the Resurrection Stone.
I mean, we haven't seen it in use though either, have we?
No, we don't see it until the very end, where Harry's walking into the forest and turns it over, and his parents and Sirius and they kind of come to help him.
And that's how we know that that's the resurrection.
Yes, and because Dumbledore had it, and it had a curse on it. That's why his hand's all effed up, like in the last book where he died. And had put the stone, the ring, in the snitch that he gives Harry upon his death. So no, we didn't see it. So it wasn't even like until that moment, like that we see it and we're like, oh shit, because Harry's realizing like, I only have two, I could only have two if I beat him and get the Elder Wand. Like, where is the thing? But Dumbledore, ever the statistician, ever the
he had a plan.
He was a man with a plan.
Where do you think he got it from? Like, what do you think happened to his hand? Where do you have to do to get it?
Oh, they tell you in the book. I mean,
I don't remember the book.
Yeah, he goes. That's why I'm here.
I know. Tell me.
That's why I'm here. Voldemort had stashed it like so long, whatever years ago. He had figured out, where his family was from. Went to confront his uncle.
I remember that.
Forget that the uncle's kind of crazy, like he's sort of feral like, and so it was like that ring was the last sort of heirloom, and so Voldemort just kind of like took it from him, like he killed him and made it the Horcrux. Like, I think it was just kind of like a convenience. Like, oh, here it is. It's an heirloom of my family, and I'm gonna stash it in this, disgusting little house, like in a village in Britain somewhere.
So he just cursed it there, and then Dumbledore had to.
Yeah,
treat it.
I mean, we saw with the locket, it ended up being the fake locket, that there was definitely some spell work putting into keeping these safe, even if you could discover it and find it. Obviously, Dumbledore had been working for many years to try to track down these Horcruxes. And
well, he wasn't even sure that's what they were.
Yeah, he wasn't sure, I don't think, until
he said
he wasn't sure until Tom Riddle's diary in the second book. And that was like what really tipped him off of like, oh man, this is all making sense now.
And then when he finally had the last pensieve
from Slughorn.
That's when it really 100% nailed it.
Yeah. So that was like in book 6 or whatever. Like, it was like getting down to the friggin' wire.
So he must have been chasing, kind of loose theories and ideas on what these Horcruxes were and why they were powerful.
Yeah. And I think it was more like he was just trying to track down anything that related to Voldemort. And so he just was like, well, if I go back to his ancestral home, maybe there's something there. So it just sort of like, because Dumbledore had all these things at once, it's sort of too weird. Like if Harry and Voldemort and Snape are all the brothers, like then this kind of, it points to him being deaf. The other obvious big one is that when Harry, quote unquote, dies in the forest when Voldemort kills him, it's Dumbledore who greets Harry at King's Cross on the other side. Just as in the Tale of the Three Brothers, when the youngest brother is ready to die, he's accepted death, that death greets him like an old friend, just as Dumbledore did.
But there's a twist. Harry doesn't go up with him. He doesn't die.
He's like, BRB,
He's like, yeah, I'm cool living, actually.
Yeah.
Go back to that.
He's like, BRB, gotta have sex with my best friend's sister, and like...
Gotta pass on the cloak. I don't have anybody to pass it
on. Exactly. Gotta pass on all these things. I like this theory. I like it too. And I know that J.K. Rowling likes it too. She pretty much said that, I like this theory. Yeah, she never said like, oh, it's right or it's wrong. She just said it was really beautiful and that it fit well, in the context of the world. And obviously, like, Dumbledore's not literally deaf, No. But that in this sort of allegorical story, that's what the Tale of Three Brothers is really meant to be, is that's allegory, that Dumbledore would represent death. Right. Yeah. And I like that. Yeah. I think it's cool. And I think it works too in the context of like, Death was trying to trick the brothers, and so did Dumbledore. He was trying. Very tricksy, that Dumbledore. Yeah, he was always not maybe in a malicious way towards Voldemort and maybe a little bit towards Snape, but he always had a plan, and ultimately dealing with Dumbledore and killing Dumbledore and working with Dumbledore was their downfall, was Voldemort's downfall and Snape's downfall. And kind of Harry's, I suppose, but he got better, he came back. Right. He was fine. Just Jesus did. Yeah, he was just like, oh, I'm fine now. Right. So, do you like this theory? I like it. Yeah. I like it too. I think it's cool. And yeah, it's one of these where there's no real right answer to this theory. It's just sort of a cool thing to think about. And props to whoever really first came up with this. I was trying to find out to name drop, but it's kind of one of those older, down into the Tumblr well of Harry Potter things. I'm sure it was like some brilliant student, somebody just like you who had like a school project and like, oh my goodness, what if? And then they wrote it and they had the theory and then so forth and so on. Yeah. If any you listeners do actually know who came up with this or where it originated from, tweet it at me or tweet it at us. I would love to know and maybe give them a shout out on the next one. But absolutely, yeah, because it's a really cool, Taco Joe, my girl Joe. It is a good theory, and I really like it. Me too. Let's get to some crazy theories. Oh man, Harry Potter. Crazy theories. There's so many. And where would even start? I only picked 3, but I want to just mention 2. That we're not going to like go in depth, but I thought they were really crazy and neat. So one of them is that Lavender Brown is a werewolf. The evidence is like she in the Battle of Hogwarts, you see her like get tackled or bit by Fenrir Greyback. And so maybe that she turned into a werewolf. And like we never see her again. Like we never see her after the Battle of Hogwarts. There's no mention of her like anywhere. She just kind of like goes off. So I thought that one was kind of neat to maybe turn sort of a minor character into something kind of neat. There was also one that was Draco Malfoy was a werewolf. Huh. And I was like, No, I like you said Lavender. Yeah. I like the idea of Lavender being a werewolf. Yeah, she's like roaming. Like a superhero magic werewolf. She has her own story now. Because I don't hear from her anymore. I know. So, she just like goes off into the woods and it's like a cool. Van Helsing's it. Yeah. So she just hunts vampires. Because vampires are real, we know that. Yeah, we know that. And werewolves are real too. Well, yeah, so, but that's obvious. But you don't see a lot of vampires in Harry Potter. Yeah, that's true. You don't. You see it at Slughorn's Christmas party. Oh yeah. And there's mention of him, Gilderoy Lockhart writes about them, but yeah, for the most part. And the other theory, it kind of ties into this idea, the Horcruxes of that you obviously have to kill someone to make a Horcrux, and it was kind of like alluded to in the books, and like that maybe J.K. Rowling has talked about it, that the final step to making a Horcrux is you actually have to consume the flesh of the person that you killed. So that basically like Voldemort is a cannibal as well as a murderer.
I'd believe it. I'd buy it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of out there. But yeah, it's sort of gross. And
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true.
No, but I mean,
like canon
wise, yeah, like,
but
it could be.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so the first real chaos theory that I have is really fucking funny because if you read Dumbledore, that's what I have named Dumbledore going back and rereading the books as an adult. And if you ever watched Harry Potter Puppet Pals, like
what is the theory, babe?
Dumbledore. Oh, Dumbledore. So
what's the theory?
It's that Dumbledore hired Gilderoy Lockhart because he thought it would be funny.
Yeah.
Like
the guy's a doofus. Doofus. And just like, hey, let's see what happens if he works here. Oh, it's a total shit show.
Yeah.
But I didn't know this would happen. No, of course you did, Dumbledore.
And if you're thinking like, hey, Dumbledore, that's kind of irresponsible to let such a doofus try to be an educator of young minds.
Who let the troll in the dungeon? I bet it was you too.
I know. And it was like, you're definitely correct. It is very irresponsible of Dumbledore to hire such an incompetent man as Gilderoy Lockhart. So, but I mean, Dumbledore kind of just does things that seem stupid or seem silly, but they really have a greater purpose. And so someone actually pointed out to me that, or directed me to J.K. Rowling saying that canonically, Dumbledore knew two of the people that Gilderoy Lockhart tried to like take their work like and pass it off as his own, like he used to memory charm them or whatever. And so Dumbledore knew he was lying, but he couldn't, because there's, obviously we've seen Mrs. Weasley's reaction to Gilderoy Lockhart and all these, legions of female fans, that Dumbledore knew he couldn't like say anything about him because they would just, come to his rescue. So he thought, well, what's a good way to basically, once again, this Dumbledore being tricksy to lead yourself to your own demise, very Death-like, that he said, well, I'll hire him and he'll be an idiot and the kids won't learn anything and he's obviously incompetent.
So out himself.
Yeah.
And then we can fire him and he'll be a joke.
Exactly.
But even better, what happens?
Yeah, like even better, it
dumbfounds himself.
Yes.
Dumbfounds himself.
Exactly. And so he was both found out to be a fraud, but I kind of took it a little too far. But that was Gilderoy's fault, not so much Dumbledore's, is that now he's... And
Ron for not having a proper that episode, that movie came down to Ron being inadequate.
Yeah, that it was basically like three-part fault.
Yeah.
Of just Dumbledore hiring him even though he was nonsense, Ron having a proper wand, and Gilderoy Lockhart being a fraudulent meanie.
Yeah.
Try not to curse too much because I hope
teenagers and
children listen to this Harry Potter episode. Hi, go to bed.
Yes. This is not generally a PG show.
Yes, we apologize.
We will maybe try to be a little better from now on.
Okay. But yes, it just seems really funny to me that he would think that he's like, yeah, I'm just going to do it because it'd be funny. Why not?
But very in his character.
Yeah, very in his character.
So the next one we got, Harry is an immortal now. Yeah. Can you see it?
So where this theory stems from, so Trelawney's prophecy goes something like, either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. So most of us take that to be that one of them has to kill the other, right?
Right.
So
you take it face value.
Yeah. But
it has to be alive. It will be dead.
Yes. But if you have a very sort of loose interpretation, as one Imgur user, HP Wombat, holla, does, they believe that this could also be interpreted to mean that only the other could kill them. So, because Voldemort is dead, does that mean Harry will never die? Like, he might get old, but if someone, like, dueled him or, like, tried to slit his throat or something, like, very violent.
Very violent.
Sorry. Someone tried to stab him or, like, he got hit by a car. Sorry. Sorry.
I was going to get really nasty there for a second.
Really dark. Just, like, really super dark. Okay, but would he die is the question. If you are going to do this sort of in-depth interpretation of Trelawney's prophecy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of, it would be kind of weird if he just lived forever.
I mean, it also says neither can live while the other survives, and they were both alive. Well, I guess Voldemort was technically not entirely alive when he was split into his Horcrux. So Harry came into this world, and then the prophecy was born, and then Voldemort tried to kill the kid. The kid killed him. He was split into pieces, so he wasn't really alive. Life. Yeah. And then they had to fight again, and then Voldemort dies. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
Harry dies and then Voldemort dies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they both die, and then Harry comes back to life.
Yeah.
Because the Resurrection Stone?
No, because Voldemort. Because love.
God damn it.
Everyone, because love. Because Voldemort actually just killed the Horcrux inside Harry instead of Harry. Like the piece of
he accidentally made the Horcrux inside him.
Yes.
And then he accidentally killed himself by shooting the Horcrux.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a freaking moron.
Yeah, how did he not understand this very complex, dark friggin' thing of magic?
I came across a bit of
dark
magic in the restricted
section. Yes. I love it. I love also, I talked about this on Wednesday in Westeros, but if you're a Game of Thrones fan too, you'll probably love the fact that Sam has to ask Professor Slughorn if he can go into the restricted section of the Maester Hogwarts.
I mean, his name isn't Slughorn. His name is Maester.
Archmaester, whatever. But he'll always be Slughorn to me, James.
Just call him Archmaester Slughorn.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to call him because I don't know his name. Yeah. Because his name is Archmaester or Slughorn. So now he's Archmaester Slughorn.
Perfect.
So, I mean, I don't think this theory is true, but I kind of liked it because you never know. Like, I guess we'll know, like, in 100 years or something. Like, I hope we're alive in 100 years to celebrate Harry's 136th birthday.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can all be at least Bilbo's age. That'd be amazing.
111th.
111th birthday. Okay, Bilbo, you've had a few. You said it was Professor Trelawney that made these predictions, correct?
Yeah, Miss Professor Trelawney of like.
Trelawney. That's right.
Yeah, in the prophecy about Harry / maybe Neville.
Yeah, but she's Harry. Also not the most accurate.
She is absolutely accurate.
Oh, prove me wrong.
Okay, so I was going to put this theory in here, but it was not enough time for me to go over all this stuff. So basically,
sum up.
So there's let me preface. So there's one part. Okay, so
you're doing a bad job.
I know. I'm sorry. That she says to Harry, "Are you born in winter, the dead of winter?" And he goes, "No, I'm born in July." And everyone laughs. Voldemort's birthday is December 31st.
Right.
So she would have maybe recognized the piece of Voldemort's soul inside Harry. She said that he was in grave danger, that he was going to die. He thought it was from the Grim, which was actually serious, but it was legit, Death Eaters and Dementors and bad people. When she comes to Christmas dinner and she says, oh no, it's an unlucky number, 13. The first person to rise at a table of 13 dies. Because Scabbers was in Ron's pocket, there already was 13 when she joined, and Dumbledore is the first to get up, and he's also the first one to die.
Oh man.
Boom!
Well, she got there were some inaccuracies there, okay. Right?
Well, just in hindsight's 2020, I suppose,
And I'm going to just side with Hermione, who just I was going to say, more profanity, this, profanity. There you go.
Okay. All right. Up. Well, I don't think this theory is true, but it would be interesting if it was.
Yeah.
So this is the theory, you guys. This is the theory of why Peter and I wanted to start this show, because we were driving home from somewhere. We're talking about Harry Potter.
As we usually do. Or Star Trek or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever else geeky stuff that we talk about all the time. They get it.
And so Peter goes, like, our house elves, were they always like that? Like, were they always this, like, a slave race? And I was like...
Were they born into slavery? That seems really awful.
Yeah, and I had no idea. And so I'm, like, trying to Google it.
I stumped her, and I was really surprised with myself.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Do they get kidnapped like Oompa Loompas?
Yeah. And so this theory is, like, all-encompassing. because I really could not find any answers of what's the deal.
What's the deal with the house elves?
Like, so the only thing I could find was,
Are some free? Some were indentured servants?
I know. And I just don't know. And so I looked up in Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, the actual book, and on Pottermore, as much as I could find about house elves. And basically they're just like little creatures, that they are super loyal to families, and that they have their own brand of magic. But that's it. There's like no backstory. And like, they're apparently the only elves in the wizarding world. So they say house elves just because most of them live in a house, obviously. But like, yeah, were they
forest elves? And
yeah, like
to be house elves?
Like, it seems super sinister. Like, I mean,
nobody is saying anything.
I know, like, and I mean,
Hermione's
trying to help them, and so. But then my other question is like, like, who made up all these rules for them? Like the clothes thing.
J.K. Rowling did.
I know, but like in the context of the wizarding world, like canonically, like, did they make up this rule? Like, is this just something they're born knowing and feeling? Is it?
No, I'm sure it was a super ancient tradition, right? And so all of the elves were taken captive, essentially. And no, I'm serious here.
Yeah.
And the entire society of human and elves became, I don't want to say symbiotic, because I don't think the elves gain anything, but it became, what's a good term? Parasitic almost, where we, took them, they help us, and through some magical law, they are bound to us and only are free if we give them an article of clothing, which would give them an identity.
Yeah, it feels really
awful,
sad, because they have laws for magical creatures and laws about magical creatures that we see, in the ministry. And so I'm thinking, like, in my, I'm like whispering about it. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like, did all these years, like, they kept this rule in the books about that you have to, like, I mean, we saw how the blacks treat their house elves, creature. We saw, obviously Dobby was super abused by the Malfoys. Like, I just can't believe, like, that modern wizards would allow this kind of abuse to continue.
Well, it's just like Trump era, where the worst in people comes out when they have somebody to, like, look up to, somebody who they can follow.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But it's really sad. It made me really sad. And I'm glad
the world's an awful place, and Harry Potter's no different.
I guess that was kind of one of those, like, realization moments of, like, oh shit, like, these house elves are so mistreated.
Yeah.
How did they end up like this?
And I know that the ones from Hogwarts
are very treated.
And who work at Hogwarts, I don't even think they're not slaves, are they?
No, they make money. Dumbledore pays them money.
And a lot of them don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they just have this money, like, for stuff. Like, they're technically
it's shiny.
It is shiny. Like, maybe they just keep it. Like, we saw Creature just has this, like, little weird nest of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah, but this made me sad.
Would it be called an elf nest, an elf warren, perhaps?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little den of
burrow,
treats.
An elf burrow.
I like an elf burrow.
Yeah,
I think that's cute.
Feels like that's a place we should live. We live in Elfborough, England.
Oh my God, I bet that is a real place.
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so too. If you guys have any ideas on this theory or more information than I do, please let me know, or let's commiserate on how friggin' awful it is, because I hate it. It makes me sad. Okay, you know what else makes me sad? Of why are there so few students at Hogwarts? This theory came from an interview in Scholastic way back in 2000. J.K. Rowling said that there was probably just about 1,000 students at Hogwarts while Harry and Hermione and Ron were attending. So some math wizards out there thought this up, and that's basically about 35 students per house in each year. So for 35 in first, 35 in second, whatever. And so that still seems quite low to me. Like, I mean, I had
good class sizes.
Yeah, like I had 35 kids in my one class. Excuse me. Not even my grade. And so the only thing that really struck me about this theory is, in the books, Harry talks about the third year boys dormitory, and it's him and Neville and Dean Thomas and Seamus and Ron, and like that was it. It was like those 5 dudes, and you didn't get any inclination like that there was another room somewhere, like that we kind of met everyone, at least Gryffindors, in Harry and Hermione's year. Like,
yeah, it's kind of depressing. There's very few wizards out there.
Yeah, and so that was my first thought. Like maybe magic is just really common.
I suppose there could be many other schools.
Well, yes, there are other schools. I mean,
I'm saying like many other schools. We've seen, a few, and we know that there are 3 in the United States. But it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, one in the United States, 3 in Europe.
Oh,
one in
Canada.
Asia.
One in Canada too, right?
Oh, I don't remember the Canadian one. There's a whole thing. There was like a one of these companion books where they talk about the other schools because there was like a potion making contest. So I only remember Hogwarts, obviously, Livermony, the American one, Drumstring, Beauxbatons. There was a Japanese and one in Japan, and there was a couple other ones. But yeah, I mean, still though, in the whole of Britain, and you would assume kind of Ireland, Wales, Scotland area, that there would be more magical kids. So a Tumblr user, hey Tumblr, Marauders Forever, hypothesized that kids born around that same time when Harry was born in the 80s was during the time of Voldemort's reign of terror. And so coupled with the people who would have joined the Order of the Phoenix and died, civilians who would have died, and then people who maybe just didn't want to bring children into this world with Voldemort in it, maybe decrease the birth rate at that point. But like it would have had to be, there would have been not very many wizards to start with if the birth rate dropped that drastically. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
true, right.
But still, that's really sad.
If that's why.
Yeah,
there's
like
so few.
Yeah, because they never really, I mean, I haven't really found like a death toll. I don't think that exists anywhere of how many people died. We know characters who have died, but like a total people who died or fled or were maimed or Cruciatus cursed, like Neville's parents into sort of a vegetable state. There's no numbers on that, but still, I mean.
That's what I'm saying. They need a historian to keep track of this stuff.
I feel like JK is like moving into that role. Like she can't stop. Like she's just going to release books for Harry Potter forever.
Well, I think also she gets such a great positive response from it. It's hard not to love a creation of yours that gets such attention.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful that she's continuing with it. And I got to say, I like the Pottermore site. I love the Pottermore site, but I liked it even more when you could interact with it, when you could do the potions and you could collect different things for your house. And then every few months, I think it was every season, one of the houses would win depending on who had the highest score. And so I was doing work for Ravenclaw. Oh man, it was so much fun. Just have 10 minutes here or there, you do some potions and rank up some points.
And you do learn a lot. I mean, you learn things like these.
Well, they don't have that anymore, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they don't have that anymore. But they still have a lot of information on there, which is where we get a lot of these theories, to be honest, a lot of this information. But we digress.
As we do a lot.
I know, we're sorry. We just get really excited.
Sorry.
Yeah, I ain't sorry. We just get really excited. So I don't know if that's the exact reason why there's so few students at Hogwarts. And like maybe there's just more in different houses. Bravery is such a beautiful and rare quality in humans that maybe there just were less Gryffindors and the houses were kind of spread out a little bit more. Like maybe not
Gryffindor sucks.
No, Gryffindor is great. All the houses.
I don't like that theory. I would prefer maybe that Hogwarts is just a bigger school, perhaps in a lot of other schools you get maybe allocated to a not so fancy wizarding school. That'd be a really funny web series.
Oh, fancy wizarding school, poor wizarding school.
Poor wizarding school. So like in the Boondocks or.
I feel like the tuition to Hogwarts is quite manageable. I mean, the Weasleys send like 7 kids there.
And they are very poor. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to the next subtopic. Unless you had anything more about.
No, just sad about it.
Yeah, let's talk about. Okay, Neville wasn't that bad at magic. I know he's your favorite character, but let me get into the broader strokes here. So he's not that bad at magic, even though he sort of seems that way. He's very clumsy. But the book states that the wand chooses the wizard. And when using another wand spells, it's not going to work, right? Not going to work well. We see that a lot with Ron when he breaks his wand, and Voldemort using Lucius Malfoy's wand. And we know that Neville uses his father's wand as a tribute to him. So he could go from there. I mean, that's wonderful,
God.
right? Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, so beautiful. So, yeah. So for the books and the movies, Neville is just kind of like, he's not very good.
Potato!
Yeah, potato! But he is really good at herbology. And so I was just thinking...
the two loves herbs.
He loves herbs. But herbology, wand work. It's mostly, working with different plants, knowing, how to treat them, how to feed them. I mean, there's a bit of wand work. But so I was thinking, like, this is a good theory. And then I remembered about his father's wand. So Frank Longbottom and Alice Longbottom, Neville's mother, were both very powerful Aurors. The dad was an Auror, at least I think the mom was as well. And then, of course, they were tortured by Bellatrix Lestrange. And so Neville, as a tribute to his dad, uses his wand because it would otherwise go unused. And so, I mean, that's so sweet, first of all. What a good bean, that Neville, my favorite. Oh my God.
No, she's going to cry. I'm going to go to the next one.
I know. Okay, no. So anyway, in the battle of the Department of Mysteries, Neville and Ginny and them go with Harry and Ron and Hermione. And Dolohov duels with Neville and breaks his wand, shatters the wand or steps on it. I don't remember exactly what happened to it. And so Neville, coming back, has to get his own wand for the first time. And his magical prowess starts to, like, steadily increase. I mean, I think it was partially his confidence was increasing, that he helped his friend. Yeah, his handsomeness. That his, he had friends who he cared about. He did battle with Death Eaters. He was
really good at the teaching. When they went to the
yes.
What's it called? When it went through what's it called? The Room of Requirement.
Yeah, the Dumbledore's Army. Yeah, when Harry goes off to find Horcruxes, Neville takes over as the leader of Dumbledore's army against Umbridge. And so I really like this theory. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I think it's just to a show of, once again, like, you don't have to be the best at magic to be a good person, like, to be good in this book series.
But he is good at magic.
But he is good at magic. And it kind of adds to that, like, wand lore as well, like that wands really have a mind of their own. And, even though
I like that
of, like, that the wands know who you are.
And they're not slaves.
They're not slaves to magic. So that's my favorite theory probably of this one. Because it also helps me believe, like, well, you were good this whole time. You were really good. You just needed a little bit of boost, buddy. Like, then you're okay.
I think this next one is one of my favorites. And it makes so much sense when you especially when you reread the books. A lot of it makes sense when you reread the books because there's so much in the Horcruxes and so much about Voldemort's history that you see in the past, in the previous books. So here it is. Our next subtopic is the Horcrux in Harry made the Dursleys hate him. And it makes so much sense because not only was he dropped off with this family, and this single kid who is just sort of a butt face, yeah, I'm going to, like,
butt face.
I'm going to playground
I like it.
terms here. But yeah, the Dursleys, they are awful people regardless, but they may have been more abusive to him because, he had a bit of Voldemort inside him.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah, I think so too. And we saw how the Locket Horcrux affected Ron and Harry too, but Ron more so, that Ron got more and more into this jealous bitterness about him, and he only wore it for, a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
Voldemort wasn't really... And Voldemort was in more power by then, so it could be that the Horcruxes were responding to that and were maybe more powerful. But even on a low level, like a low frequency, that must be, like, driving you insane a little bit.
Yeah, everyday exposure to that.
You go up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
Where Harry lives.
I know, just being around him. And I think
assholes.
They talked about it a little bit, like, that the Dursleys were always just kind of, like, shitty people, like, that they were always Petunia didn't like magic and was resentful towards the magic, but I think really the Horcrux inside Harry amplified all of their worst qualities, because it's hard to think too of just how could people treat a little orphaned boy in the way that they did without some sort of provocation.
Unless they were muggles that were privy to the knowledge of the magic world, because Petunia's sister was a
witch.
Yeah, was a magic user. And then they would know of the war and of Voldy, and they would know why Harry was important. And so
they did.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. They know that.
Yeah.
And so that puts a lot of pressure on them. And as standard English people who just want a normal life, that's not very proper or normal.
That's true.
So there's so many things. Of course, they hated Harry, and it makes so much sense rereading the books, especially also after visiting England and understanding that's English culture is not American culture, and for anybody who thinks that they're the same, they're not.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, please don't beat orphans or be mean or put them under the stairs in any country.
Well, it's common practice here in America.
Yeah. No. Do you have stairs in your house? I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've learned something about you today, babe.
Yes. It's where the pantry was.
So our final, we talked a lot about Harry Potter 1 through 7, and I wanted to address at least one Fantastic Beasts quickly, because we're going to get like 5 more movies of these. So I kind of wanted to address the one that at least right now ties the most into the book. So
and we'll talk more about these as the future movies come out.
Yes, and so we'll learn more hopefully. So this theory is that Ariana Dumbledore is an Obscurus. And I actually talked about this on the Assembly of Geeks Geek Directive podcast when A Fantastic Beasts came out. But I want to reiterate here in case you didn't hear me, and I like to hear myself talk very smartly about things.
That's why we're here. Can I tell them what an Obscurus is real quick?
Yes.
An Obscurus is an unstable and uncontrollable dark force that bursts out and attacks others. It can be born out of an Obscurial, which is a young wizard that we see witch that we see in Magical Beasts and Where to Find Them, who develops a dark, parasitical, magical force that results in their magic being suppressed through psychological or physical abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, good thing Harry didn't turn out to be an Obscurus. That's a real danger.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of dodged a bullet there.
Oh my god.
Okay, but Ariana Dumbledore, we think, was an Obscurus.
Yeah, and so we saw this in Fantastic Beasts with Ezra Miller's character. I don't remember his name. He had like a Cletus or a Clayton or something sort of name. Cletus.
Get back in yourself.
And so we saw him that he was, and they even talked about it in the movie, like he was a bit older than the other Obscurial children that they had seen. So basically it was like that he grew up in this hyper-religious household, hyper anti-magic, so he'd had to force it down and push it down. And that they talk about it in the Harry Potter books of wizarding children, that they can do, Harry had some little magic where, he makes the glass on the snake case vanish or moves pencils and stuff. Like, that's healthy. And that magical children should do that. It dispels this sort of built-up magic. So if you're not allowed to do that, that's where this Obscurus comes up. And
it's like for any of you who have an overactive dog. If you don't train the dog, or you don't take the dog for runs or walks, they're going to get pent up and they're going to start eating stuff and gnawing on your furniture. And that's why dogs pee in the house and do things like that, because it's a pent-up Obscurus. Your magical animal is yelling at you through its magical pee.
Yes. And so when we watched Fantastic Beasts, this automatically struck me, like, this sounds like Ariana Dumbledore. And so in the books, in the movies even less, but the only thing we knew about her really was that when she was young, Muggle boys in their village attacked her when they saw her playing with magic. And so she was very traumatized. Mr. Dumbledore ended up going to Azkaban and dying in Azkaban because he got revenge on those boys. And so the mother, Dumbledore's mother, basically locked Ariana away and didn't want, maybe there was a lot of bitterness there from the mother of that her husband was now in jail and then dead. And that Ariana started to seem dangerous, like that she didn't want her to go to Hogwarts, that she didn't want her practicing magic. And ultimately Ariana has a burst of magic that kills the mother. And so Dumbledore and Aberforth have to take care of her. And so the other thing that we know about her is that when Dumbledore and Grindelwald become friends, that Grindelwald becomes sort of fascinated by her and comes around the house and wants to look at her and talk to her and talks to Dumbledore about dark magic and all this kind of stuff. So they get in this duel, Aberforth and Grindelwald and Albus, and Ariana's there, and she unleashes another of these bursts of magic, and one of them kills her, probably Grindelwald, but that's like Albus's ultimate shame, like that maybe he killed his own sister.
And he would do it. I mean, he would.
Maybe he was young. He was really young, and like the Aberforth even says, like, I have no idea what was happening. Like in that duel, there was hexes and jinxes flying everywhere, and she got hit, and then she had like a panic, and then she was dead. So I think this really fits with what she is, and it's a really almost subtle. And I don't know if Jo planned that at all, like that she just maybe she had this thing about Ariana Dumbledore, and then when it came to Fantastic Beasts, she's like, this thing that I've been thinking about and never really got to explore. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool thing to do. But it is a really neat way to tie in both movie series and book series.
Absolutely.
And so someone pointed out right when the movie came out too that the Fantastic Beasts book, the little tiny one, I have it. It's like I think the cover is green or red. The fake publisher of that book is Obscurus Books. And so at least in name, she and Scholastic have thought about this concept of an Obscurus for a while, since 2001. It's one of those really cool, like, Harry Potter theories that, like, maybe just came about, like, that she had been thinking, like, it's like her own fan theory. Like her own theory that she'd been thinking about, and then it finally came real, like finally became a real thing. Yeah,
it's a really neat theory, and it's a really neat concept too, because it even more so than what Harry Potter means to all of us, to hide, what you are.
Mm-hmm.
That touches so many people on many different levels, and for Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling to talk about it, I think it's such a great thing, and it's another reason why we all love Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's so true. This corrupting force of not getting to be yourself. I think, yeah, you nailed it. So many of us found ourselves from Harry Potter. Whether that was sexual identity or that we just super liked reading. Like that we got to be our true selves at Hogwarts.
Yeah, and continuing in the tradition. So it's good job, Harry Potter.
Good job, guys. Well, this was so fun, and I didn't cry once.
You were getting close a couple times. I saw.
I purposely picked theories, too, that I was not going to cry about, because looking at some of these, like, Tumblr headcanons and, like, theories, I would have been a mess. Yeah. I would have been a whole mess.
During the Neville one, I just saw you choke up a little bit, and you caught it. You're like, nope, I'm going to catch it.
Neville would want me to be strong, okay?
And you were.
Yes,
and you pictured Snape in your grandmother's clothing.
Ew. Yes, all the lipstick. Okay, babe, where do people find you on the interwebs?
I'm at Screenwriter.
On Twitter and Instagram.
At Twitter and Instagram, yeah, that's me, Screenwriter. It's spelled funny, so good luck.
You'll find it. You'll find him.
Follow at that Emily Kelly.
Yeah.
And then you'll find me.
Exactly. As Peter said, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Emily Kelly. You can also find me more often than not now on the Wednesday in Westeros podcast.
She's a regular.
I don't know if they're really calling it that, but it's kind of shaping up that way.
I like it that way.
I love it because I love talking with Todd and Taylor. If you guys listen to our Game of Thrones fan theories, you understand why we're friends with them, because they're both super smart, funny dudes. So I love doing Wednesday in Westeros, and on that podcast we recap each week's Game of Thrones. So this week it'll be episode 3, and Danny and John are going to meet, and I'm so excited. So please tune in. And all of these podcasts, ours, Wednesday in Westeros, Todd and Taylor Show, and so many other great podcasts we found on the There Network, and that's findusthere.org. All of us are also available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
We get around, guys.
We get around. There's
the big ones.
There's a lot of ways to listen to us. And so if you like listening to us, that's amazing. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And so we want this show to be about participation with you guys as well, because so many of you are the ones who come up with these theories that we talk about. So if
shows about you guys.
Yeah, shows about you guys. So if you have an idea of a topic, a theme, a fandom that you want us to cover, shout it at us on Twitter and Instagram or anywhere.
I think it's called a tweet.
Us.
I think
tweet.
It's a tweet on Twitter.
A shout. Yes.
If you yell your tweet, is it a shout?
If you yell at me in person, first let's be friends, and then
it might be kind of
tell
rude
me.
if you don't introduce yourself first.
Yeah. So officially, we have not decided what we want to do for August. So if you have an idea, we would love to hear it, and we would love to give you credit for telling us what to do.
Indeed.
So please find us on social media, and we will see you next month.
Okay, I love you. Bye.